Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. Happy Thursday. Hooray. We want to thank all of you for being here today. Oh my God, I almost hit end broadcast by mistake. uh, I am the badass Buddha, Lori Monaco, coming to you from what was not supposed to happen was rain, but it's nice. It was a heavy rain in Southern Connecticut. The weather has been absolutely fantastic. I cannot even believe. I'm so grateful for the way the weather's been. It did get a little hot and humid, but it wasn't so terrible. And we've had this breeze, and when you're in the shade, it's been phenomenal. So when we talk about on the show, setting our intention and going with gratitude every day, oh man, I have been nothing but grateful for this absolutely fabulous weather. And I've checked out your weather, Gladiator Guru, and it was in the 90s. So I'm happy with the 70s. Anyway, welcome everybody. Good morning.
Good morning. Buenos días, mi gente. Aquí con la Margarita, your gladiator guru. And I love it. It's nice and like drizzling right now outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, I returned back to Florida on Saturday, and I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot of coffee orders to fill, which is that'll be the first 3 days I'm there. And yes, yesterday one of my former coworkers posted just heading into work, and it was 100 degrees on her car panel. And I'm like, oh, Maron, am I looking forward to that? I'm really not. But then I think about the cold, long winters here, and I'm like, okay. So yeah, we humans are just so difficult.
We are.
We're difficult when it's freezing out. We just can't wait for the summer, and when the summer comes, we're complaining about how hot it is, and it's like,
Yes.
You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. So let's start dancing with the weathers that we chose to live in, and that way it would be less friction within ourselves. So good morning. Good morning. It's Thursday. I'm happy to be here. And before we go on, I want to remind everybody who's in Bridgeport, surrounding areas, tonight at 6 p.m. at the Dream Suite Collective on Barnum Avenue. There's a sip and shop spa night tonight, hosted by Carmen Nieves. I will be there. Come on down. I'm going to have some of my things. There's going to be a jewelry person. There's going to be a Mary Kay consultant, which I'm so excited because I haven't been to a Mary Kay party in years. So if you're able to, 6 p.m. tonight, Dream Suite Collective, 1849, I believe, and Bridgeport Ave. So come on down. Just wanted to plug that in early. Carmen Nieves, who is always there for everybody. So let's show support, let's show love, and let's just take like an hour or two for ourselves and sip. I think they're going to have mimosas and shop.
Sip and shop. Sip and
Get
shop.
a facial and learn about your skin. We forget. We just put anything on here, and it's the most vulnerable part of our bodies because the elements, when we walk out, it's the first thing that hits. And if we don't wash properly, we don't moisturize properly, there's no amount of money you can spend on makeup that's going to cover flawed skin because of failure to take proper care of it. Now that's coming from a 1991 Mary Kay consultant. Namaste.
Oh my gosh. This is also coming from the generation who used to just lay out in the sun and put baby oil on. Remember that?
I never did, but yeah, I never understood that.
Good morning, Tiffany Bryan was the first one on this morning. Nice. And good morning to Lillian Reyes. Good morning
Lillian. Oh my God, Lillian Reyes on. She's one of the coffee orders that I gotta fill. I'm sorry there's been a delay. Hopefully we get to talk about all of that stuff here today.
Also, good morning to Rarunit Majoron. I apologize if I butchered that. Milagros is in the house. Good morning, Milagros. I love it. I love the little hand raising and the wave. And look, Lillian put some hearts up. I'm sorry, Liliana. I apologize.
Yeah, Liliana, because she's been very patient.
And I put Lillian by mistake, and I loved it. I love Liliana. The added A just really just makes it just so magically sounding. Also, too, just want to remind you a couple of things is we love it when you share this. We love when you share it with your own tribe, your own people. It definitely helps us grow our tribe. And also comment, for those of you that pop in on YouTube, we can comment on YouTube, but we can't see your comments because we're usually monitoring Facebook. That's how we see when people come in, even when they don't comment. So we really encourage people that come in on YouTube to definitely put comments in so that we can see them up on our StreamYard account, and then we can actually comment to you, so that you're not left out. When we comment, you'll see it pop up on YouTube, but we can't see that you're there unless you comment. And same thing with Facebook. If we're not paying attention all the time, we can't necessarily see you there. So, and we love to see you when you say hello, well, because then we flash it up on the screen and we make a big deal of it. So, definitely, definitely do that. So, all right, let's do our let's set our intention for today. Let's do our mantra. And then I have a feeling our plan B is going to go into effect later. And we'll tell you what plan B is in a second. Okay, so our intention for today, as always on Viva Cafe con Leche, is to be intentional and
grateful.
Yes, set your intention for whatever that intention may be. As Carmen A. Nieves always says, go with intention, be intentional, and then go with gratitude. Always be grateful for what there's always something to be grateful for, even when things are not going well. I mean, if you okay, I'll give you an example. A good friend of mine, I'll give a shout out to Bernie, because Bernie is a tribe member. She comes on periodically. She's not been feeling well. And yesterday she got progressively worse over the last few days. And she was so bad that she was actually crying because she wasn't feeling that well. And that's unusual for her. And she was describing her symptoms to me. And she ended up going to the hospital earlier in the day. And then she came back and she was crying, saying, I was there all morning. And they said, I have a really bad sinus infection. And they sent me home. And she was telling me about her symptoms. And I said, your chest x-ray was clear? She said, yes. And I said, your symptoms don't sound right. I said, you need to go back to the hospital. And it really sounded like it was a pulmonary embolism, it could be deadly. And so I told her, just go to, Bridgeport Hospital or St. V's, because she had gone to Griffin. And I said, go there and then tell them your doctor said you needed to come here immediately to rule out a pulmonary embolism. So they knew it was serious. And she was there till she didn't get out till 1 a.m. But in the end, it was not a pulmonary embolism, but still she got the necessary care. She got the chest CAT scan that she needed. And even though, I looked at her and I thought to myself, she was so weak and she's got so much on her plate. And I thought to myself, every day we should always say that we're grateful for our health. Like, if there's nothing else that you could find, even if you are not in the best of health, it could always be worse. So we could always find something that we're grateful for. Like in her case, she's still horrible, but I bet she was grateful for the fact that it was not a pulmonary embolism, because that would have required her to stay in the hospital. That would have required her to have some treatment, and it could have been really scary. So go with gratitude. Just always think about that. Come from a place of love and compassion for self, and be grateful for the things that you have in your life, even if they're small.
This mustard seed. You see, why be intentional and live in gratitude? Because if you are not grateful for your life, then how can you purposely set an intention? You have to have gratitude for the
That's a good
smallest
point.
things around you that lead to the big things around you. And then when your mind is clear because you are grateful for what it is you have and what you are doing at this moment, then you can set intentions to fall forward. So it goes hand in hand. Be grateful for what you have and set intentions to work towards what you want.
Yes.
But you can't continue to receive if you're not even giving yourself the blessings, accepting the blessings for what you already have. It might not be what you want, but we all have to crawl before we walk. And the blessing of gratitude that you are able to crawl, knowing that your next step is to walk. I mean, how many people can't even get to that? So,
That's correct.
gratitude and intentions, be intentional, live with gratitude. They're twins, and they go together everywhere you go.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's do our mantra then, and then we'll get rocking and rolling. You ready? Here we go. I am a disruptor.
I am a disruptor.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am magically orgasmic.
Ole.
And I am beyond authentic.
And I keep it real.
Beautiful. Take it in. Even when we are not, if you're not on Tuesdays and Thursdays, memorize the mantra, write it down, and say it every single day. And especially if you're on a particularly low, a low point, if you're having a crappy day, say the mantra, right? That's the whole point of mantras, right? Oh, look at Milagro. Oh, Milagros. She sent us 500 stars. And the way it shows up is the coolest freaking thing. It's this little party cone, and oh my God, that's so cool. So hey, listen, if we're gonna start a star party, please, go for it, I guess, right? Go for it. Okay. Why did you just send me that text message?
Oh, Berta's here.
And Eileen, good morning, Eileen. All right.
Eileen King.
Oh,
King is my former HR director. And I just love that we stay in tune with one another. Good morning, Eileen.
All right. So this is fantastic. We're going to today's conversation is going to be a very interesting look, and it's the reason we it was actually Gladity Guru came across this article, and the conversation today is to autism with love. And it was based on an article written by an absolutely fabulous lady. And I have the article. What did I do with the article? It's somewhere over here. Oh my goodness gracious. My computer is so ridiculously slow sometimes. Oh, this is terrible. I have the article somewhere. I thought I keyed it up. Maybe not. It's my anyway. We're gonna let our guest explain the article, and then we're gonna talk about that article because it's just it was such a beautifully written article about how a different take on autism. And when you are talking about an individual that's labeled, we always go with the quote normal labels instead of looking outside the box. And I think that's what made this article specifically so special, was the fact that it was outside the box thinking. And so I'm going to read Berta's bio to you, and then we're going to have her come on. So Berta Prevosti, founder and owner of RajaYogini.com and the Raja Center. She's located here in beautiful Connecticut. She is a student of Raja Yoga and Metaphysical Studies, founder and owner of the RajaYogini.com and the center, and founder of the Jiva Center. If I'm pronouncing wrong, Berta could correct me. Berta's dharma in this life is to continue to study and teach on many different subject matters. She lectures regularly on Astanga, 8 limbs of yoga, the chakras, healing and disease, as well as the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, Raja Yoga, and meditation. Berta completed her first 500 YTT with the late Roberta Dale Fortune, as well as studying Astanga Yoga from John Boris in 1999. Girl's been rocking it and doing it a while. Berta is a certified Phoenix Rising yoga therapist from the Kripalu Institute of Yoga. Love Kripalu. Berta is an EYRT 500-hour certified yoga alliance teacher, as well as a YACEP provider with over 1,000 hours of CEU. She's the founder and creator of the Jiva Center, 200 and 300 yoga teaching training programs. So she is badass. Okay, she's badass. We're talking yoga before yoga became big, right? She's the real deal. She's also the she's done 100 hours meditation teaching training, and has taught hundreds of people on the art of meditation. She received her 100-hour Yogi Alliance certified meditation teacher training from Saravaguna Yoga and Meditation School in Dharmasala, India. She's a non-denominational interfaith minister in the order of, I'm going to butcher that one, Berta, Melchizedek. And she has used her spiritual counseling to link the body, mind, and spirit to every possible physical, mental, and emotional imbalance. She has studied extensively in the art of shamanic healing, drumming, soul retrievals, and divination. I just want Berta to live with me. I think like that's really, I'm thinking here. She's a certified Reiki master in Isua and Karuna systems of universal hands. She has worked with thousands of men, women, and children over 28 years in both education and helping the overall balance of their bodies through energy work and healing. She is certified from Body Ecology, Angelic Healing Touch Center, and the International Center of Reiki Training. She's the founder and creator of Kurana Energy Healing, an advanced method of hands-on healing. So she is the real deal. She is absolutely the real deal. And her perspective is absolutely fabulous of life in general, but especially with this particular autism article. So let's bring Berta on.
Good morning.
Oh, Berta.
Good morning. Good morning.
Berta, that is just, I mean, oh my gosh, like you are just such a divine, unbelievable being.
Thank you.
So you've had your place for how long now? You're located in, is it New Haven?
I am in Stratford. And
Stratford. Okay, that's right.
So I founded the Jiva Center 7 years ago, but then I sold it a couple of years ago and went almost 100% online. And although I travel and we do things. And so we've gone online. And so that's why it's Raja Yogini. And there we're focusing a lot, or basically on everything that I've done. I'm able to put it in one space. And it's all kind of, it's all the same thing as far as people searching and looking and wanting to find out. To me, everything is through the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, which is also then meditation. And the teachings, the yogic philosophy kind of answers so many questions, like this article that I wrote quite a few years ago, but it all encompasses the same thing. We're not any different. And we're all searching for the same answers to how to end suffering for ourselves and for others in this life and what that means. And so that's why I teach what I do. And I continue to both lecture and teach and try to be as, I try to make it so accessible. So now that we've got this other forum, we're able to provide so many more classes. I just want to bombard people with anything they need, and make it really easy to get there. And, so that's,
that sounds great.
I'm happy to be here and to be able to continue to spread that. So thank you.
No, we're happy.
That's wonderful, because I think we're especially at a very pivotal time. I mean, there's always pivotal times, but the shift that's happening in the universe on a universal realm,
yes,
it's not good. It's not been good. And I think that when the more individuals such as more individuals like you who are making this more accessible and changing the energetic levels by what you're providing and opening people's hearts and minds is absolutely necessary.
100%. It's always been necessary. But, when I look at things right now, and as we see the world just topsy-turvy, and every time we turn around, it's another occurrence, usually due to violence and ignorance. And so, but But I see it as also a natural occurrence of our human condition and an opportunity always to learn from it. So when I see violence, or you see violence, we see violence, we see violence, I mean, in, of course, the physical manifestation of it, but even in a negative thought, you're walking around, and it's in the small things like that because or else people are not identifying with it to say, well, I didn't do any violence today. Did you not, while you were driving down the street and someone cut you off, have violent thoughts? What's going on in your mind? And that's where we have to take accountability, because there's a lot of violence happening in people's mind, to themselves, to others, how we believe in ourselves, what we believe in others, our judgment to other people. And to me, I see that the world is and what is happening now, even with weather patterns, it's an accumulation of our collective thoughts.
Yes. Yep.
And how do we then counter that? We need to change our collective thoughts, and we can't ask someone else to do it if we can't do it first. And that's one of the hardest things.
Yes, I agree with you. It starts with accountability, awareness. So everything starts with awareness, and then realizing that we have the power. We have the power to make change. We always think it's too great, it's too big, but it starts with us. And then we have to take the accountability, and then we have to ask the right questions. What do I need to do? How do I, and if you don't know how to go about it, when you stop and pause, the answers often present themselves to you. And I think that in our fast-paced world, we've been trained, we've been conditioned to always seek. And if it's not there, move on to the next thing, if it's not showing itself, as opposed to taking that moment and just stopping and listening and feeling.
Yeah. We're too busy doing and not being.
Exactly.
And that is what is displacing all of us, especially from ourselves. So how can we practice what we preach when we're too busy just listening, like being, like just taking in and not actually just shutting up and listening?
Exactly.
To our intuition, to that higher power, to that inner voice. We don't do that enough, but yet we're always complaining.
Exactly. And there's always and it's always someone else's problem, and it's someone else's thing. And if it's everyone else's problem, then we're really lost. I raised my children believing that one person can make a difference. And how do you do it? Make a difference within yourself. And then you do what's in front of you, and you do it with kindness, and you do it with courage, and you do it, with great responsibility, not just for yourselves, but, one negative person can make a difference in the world, but one positive person truly from deep inside, because of their practice, can change the world. And we've seen that.
Yep, absolutely.
I think it starts with changing perspective. When we're looking out for outside sources, we don't think we can change. Everything's conditioned. It's a conditioned response. Everything that we've been acting upon and acting as has been conditioned over the last 20, 30, whatever amount of years. And we just keep repeating those patterns. And it takes individuals to step outside the box. And with that, tying it into your article. So your article, so Gladiator Guru found your article, and she brought it up to my attention, and we went through the article, and then we looked you up afterwards. And that's why we reached out to you.
We stalked you, Berta. We stalked you.
We stalked you. Yeah. So it's the title alone just really sets the tone. So everybody has a perception of individuals with autism, whether they're children or adults, and the perceptions of children with autism often are very different than adults with autism. But when you take it from a different perspective and you place it as you did now, and that's what we want to talk about. We'll base it on this, but we don't have to just limit to the autism conversation. It's taking a different perspective on people. So the title of your article, so for those of you that want to read it, it was in Natural Awakenings, which is a newspaper that's throughout the state, and they have holistic individuals on there. I was in there a few times myself, but it's Magical People, a Spiritual Perspective on Autism. Just the first two letters got both. That's what brought Gladiator Guru to see it, and that's what got me too, is calling an individual with autism a magical person. So where did that come from? What made you write this article in the first place and then write it in such a way?
So I was asked to write about autism in any manner that I chose, and so before I write anything or do anything, I will meditate on what that name should be. So I didn't really come up with it. It literally just came, and it said magical people. I was like, "Ooh, thank you. That's a good name." And so then that just inspired me to then continue to explore. I mean, people that I've worked with that have had severe autism, and what I've seen and what I've learned and their progress, and also perspective of how people are seeing that world and these people. And so it just really was more inspired by a truthfulness, a truth that exists. And, one of the main, and I teach this often because we all look at our lives as if something negative happened, we were born in this way, we have this affliction, we were born in this circumstance, and we don't realize that we've actually chosen our circumstances. There are no mistakes. God doesn't make mistakes. So these people are not mistakes. There was never once that they were going to, and it's a partnership between both the parents and those children to come into this world like that. They both have decided, and that's a huge thing to decide, and so we look at the world, and there's more and more, people with autism of course we look at the full spectrum, but we could say what's happening and what's wrong, or what's happening and are we missing something? Is something actually right? It's not ever something wrong. It's always was supposed to be like that. Nothing went wrong. There is nothing wrong with them. They're not sick. They're these incredible human beings that are incredibly sensitive and spiritual, but in a natural state of being, in which we work very hard to create that level of spirituality that they just come into most naturally. And what is it for us? It's an opportunity to slow down, to be kind, to be compassionate, to listen, to interact in a different manner, and to be non-judgmental. And so it's always a great opportunity to interact with anyone, with everyone, and we should do it with all people. But I like to look at it more as it's not an error, it's not a mistake, and they are magical. And so, and the magic and the gifts come when we quiet ourselves and we understand that there is something else happening here, and they can hear us, and they're here for a purpose. So, so there
Absolutely. I think because this is what we were talking about before we found your article. Because I'm very spiritual, and I don't believe in coincidences or mistakes, and I believe the choosing of when we come in here. I believe we're all born with that magical spirit, and then at a certain age, it's like all the conditions placed upon the child. We have to go a certain way. The beauty of it is when you seek to find it again. I think that when you are a magical spirit, you're labeled, and that's what happened. They don't understand that. I believe schizophrenics are at such a higher level. There's no medication. The schizophrenia it's like people must find a reason for everything. And the people finding the reason and labeling are the people who are not in tune with God. They're not in tune with the spiritual realm. So they label it. And so I don't believe that especially schizophrenia, they're at such a higher vibration than us. I think people fear them, and they place fear upon us to be careful around those people. But it's just why the spiritual vibrations that they're giving us through their aura. And if we're in a place, my business is Cricket's Whispers, and it means to sit and silence the noise and listen to the whispers of hope. We don't do that enough. And
No,
then
we
we
don't.
complain, and then we wonder, oh, that's not real. Then we question the truth about what is this universe. But yes, totally, totally. When we found that, we were discussing that, because I always would look at them and I would be like, there's just there's something about them. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing sick about them. They're
Exactly.
they're like floating, and we're trying to ground them. Just like when we're told to wear shoes instead of walk out there barefoot. When
Mhm.
you're sitting down, go hug a tree, talk to
Mhm.
your plant, do something with nature, connect with it at such a level that you really become unbreakable.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Go ahead.
And no, no, no. Yes, no, with 100%, we're obviously in the same, state of mind. And I think the more we speak about it and we can talk about it and let people know, and just even planting a seed of, compassion and kindness and opportunity, that everything's an opportunity, everything's that something's being taken away, and why me, and woe is me, and this is not fair to me, rather than saying, oh, hold on, I may be missing an opportunity for something greater. And so when these people come into our lives, that's always this great opportunity, and they're very sensitive too, and so we have to be very careful not to be violent around them.
Mm-hmm.
In mind and spirit and everything, it is so important not to. And because they are extremely sensitive to energy and will absorb it, and often those are the kind of responses that we're seeing, is absorbed and learned behavior. And again, not judging whoever is taken care of, and this is just very general, but there was this young man that I had the privilege to get to know many years ago, and his mother brought him to me when he was about 13 years old, and he was very severely autistic, nonverbal, non-visual, only kind of stayed in his little world and rocked, and he was also violent. His mother's covered in bruises always, and he was very violent. So they wanted to see if Reiki and energy work would help. And so I was like, yeah, let's see. I mean, this was an extreme, right? So, and at certain point, verbal cues, they're not supposed to come back after a certain amount of years, and especially in that world. So when she first brought him, he lied down on the table, but she came with this other man and herself, and they held him down, and I did the session. And then I said, after the session, I said, so when you do that, you're holding them down. I said, is that for your sake, his sake, or my sake? They said, your sake. Oh, I said, excellent. Let's not do that next time. So they came back, and I said, don't worry about me. And so again, there he was. And then the mother sat in the room. The other person didn't come. And I saw him looking over to her the whole time. And I could feel and read his energy a little bit. And I just wanted to be alone with him. So the next time I said, so you're here in the room, is that for his sake, my sake, your sake? Whose sake is that? She goes, your sake. I said, excellent. Out. And that time, because I could hear him, I'm like, I know you're in there. And I gave him, he would rock up and down and get off and do a lot of violent things. And I said to him, listen, I know you're in there. I can hear you. I said, I'm going to give you one thing that you cannot do. You cannot get off this table. You can sit up, you can lie down, sit up, lie down, but you can't get off this table. And so then he stood up on the table. I said, okay, two things. You can't stand on the table, and you can't get off the table. And he listened to me. I'm like, he heard me, and then I heard him, and I heard his whole story. And within years, his violence went from extreme to none. We got him off so many different medications. He became verbal. He became gentle and kind. Because he always was. He always had been. But there was a situation in the family where there was some violence, and he was absorbing that. And I said that absolutely not even a negative word could be said around because of the sensitivity. And he's just this beautiful, gentle soul. And he always had been. And that really struck me. And I learned so much from him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was during part of this time when I wrote that article, and I've worked with many others, that are on the spectrum, and how and you could feel their kindness, their sweetness, their brilliance, that no one gives them credit for. They may not be able to express it sometimes, but it's there if we listen and we give them an opportunity.
I have two questions, but you said, listen, I speak a lot and I write a lot about the five senses. When you want to do the inner work and inquire within, you have to become one with the five senses, which leads us in with nature, which then allows us to listen to the sounds that are there laying low, but you have to become one with yourself in order to listen. You have to be privy to that by doing the inner work. My question is, do you believe, first of all, what led them to you? What led this mom to come to you?
So I always think these were in the days, and most of the time, this is the days that I never advertised. I was a single mother. I was raising my boys, and I worked, and I built a studio off the back of my house. And I didn't advertise. And I thought, well, if I'm doing the work I'm supposed to, God will bring these people to me. And that's how I've always thought that, and I've worked that way. And I don't even look at it as, can I make a difference? Can I not? That's not even in my hands. That's God drawing someone to me, and I'll say, then come in. Obviously, they were supposed to be there, and that in that way was the same. I was seeing his mother for Reiki, and I had seen her. It's through a line. I always find it a very interesting line of how someone managed to get to the back of my house, and so it's never like, and the same with this. How did you find that article? And it was through that name that came to me. And it was like, this is the name. So this is wonderful to me. I feel it's like full circle. I don't ever think it's me. It's just the universe doing its thing.
Yeah, because you are where you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Now, do you believe this person came to you at this certain time in your life to pave the road for where you are today? Like this individual was like that lighthouse beaming the light within you to say, Berta, you're here. It's time.
Oh, yes, very much so. And especially because I speak about my life and where I came into it, and I have to try to make a lot of sense from it. I came in and I was brought up in a very violent, family, but I've always known it wasn't to create more violence. It was to find an answer and then break the cycle of violence. So when people come to me and they're having violent issues, or they brought them because this boy was violent, and they wanted to try to bring that down. The boy was not violent. And I understood violence from when I was young, and it's an energy. And I follow and teach the 8 limbs of yogic philosophy, the 8 limbs of yoga. And so there's, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but the first one is the state of 5 basically laws, right? Universal laws. They're called yamas. And so the first one is ahimsa, which is non-violence. That is the first thing. And that's the first step to all these levels and states that, to reach the state of samadhi, the highest state of meditation before enlightenment. So this is a very austere state, but where do we begin? We begin with non-violence. And so non-violence, rather than thou shalt not kill, same thing, except this is non-violence. Thou shalt not think a violent thought of yourself and anyone else. So when I see this, I think, the first thing, you might think is, am I placing myself in danger? I see his mother covered in bruises from head to toe. And he doesn't do it on purpose, of course. It was because of frustration, not being able to be heard. And so I think first, I'm like, oh, are you afraid? I'm like, oh, I'm so silly. God brought this child to me, not for me to be afraid and say it's too much for me. To say, okay, let's go. Like
this is your assignment.
This is, yes, of course. And I will never say no. Someone comes to my door, that person made their way to my door because God brought them to my door. And who am I to say no? You say, do what's in front of you. Do it with kindness and nonviolence. And, and that path is quite miraculous when we feel we don't know our path. We don't know where we're going. What is our dharma? Just do what's in front of you. Do it well, do it with kindness, and you will find your way every time. So yes, that boy came into my life at a very interesting time, I think, for both of us.
Yeah, because what's meant for you happens on the time God says it, not our time. And many times the opportunities, the blessings, the gifts are brought to us, but we are so stuck on ourselves and the fear takes over that then feed us self-doubt, that we say, no, it's too much. I can't take this on now. Oh no, I can't do this now. I'm not ready. And then time goes on and then we ask ourselves, why is nothing opening up for me? And I think I actually, the Badass Buddha has a compilation book, her second one coming out now. And my chapter is talking about my 2 assignments that I did not want,
Yes,
but that I accepted after fighting myself gracefully. And then we're talking today here, and it's all about believing in that little voice that tells you, that intuition, that insight, that gift of insight that God gives me, that my ancestors guide me through, that the spirit realm caused. And I'm like, okay, we're really going to do this right now. And what caught your thing is, I have a blog since 2018, and I actually make clothing with it. It's magically orgasmic. And so that is that word is deemed so negative, but it's really such a beautiful, it's like it's everything about this world, Mother Nature, God, it's all magical. And if you look at it, even saying the word makes your heart smile, and then it brings it to your face, and it's like, oh, that's right. And that's how the Badass Buddha and I was when I said, oh my God, listen, look at this article, and we like instantly fell in love with it.
Yeah.
That energy you put into those words so many years ago, as you said, is still vibrant today. For whoever reads that article is going to like get that surge of energy and be like, yes, because it speaks truth. The words jump out at you from that article, and it puts you in a different state of being, and your thoughts go, and you're like, and yes, everything I believed before, she's confirming with her words. And if you didn't believe in, or you didn't care about it, because a lot of people don't think about it, right? Oh, he's autistic. What did the doctor say? What did you prescribe? And I've met a person her son was diagnosed with autism, and then I saw the child and I said, is he the one that's autistic? Oh no, it was a misdiagnosis.
Oh.
How does that hinder the spirit of parents and everyone who gets that kind of diagnosis? Well, all I'm saying is I believe when we're grounded spiritually, you have to believe in something. Can you speak on that?
About the belief in something?
About how we must believe in something in order to grow into who we were, or grow back into, or recognize, or be like, woo, get that little light bulb, that, epiphany. Oh, I am this person.
Yes.
See, when I tell people I'm a spiritual coach and a sacred healer, they look at me like I'm crazy or a wannabe. I've been in the spiritual realm since I was 7 years old.
Yeah, that's when it opens up. Yes, exactly.
And I also grew up in a very violent. My sisters and I have front row seats to the violence, the bloody violence. My mom shooting my dad in the groin, my dad splitting her head open. We grew up in that, And in my article, I said, I'm a storyteller, but I don't speak on the how it happened. I speak on the what.
Why?
Yes. What happened to me, but let me tell you how the hell I got out of that. Because that's the story.
So that's great, because I always tell people when I start working, and I have to remind myself, to say there are no mistakes, and you are perfectly healthy, and there's nothing wrong with you. It's just trying to then clear up what else is there, so we can. You said it before, and I say it to people all the time, to become more of the person you were always supposed to be. So, but we come into these opportunities. I look at, for instance, coming into a violent home. I picked it. One, I picked my parents. Two, there wasn't a mistake. Why was it? I would say it's karma. Yeah, of course it's karma. Karma is what we create in one life, and then we're born into the next to burn it off. So, okay, all of these things are there. So what am I supposed to do? I'm this young girl, but now I know very well there wasn't a mistake. My father was my greatest teacher. If it weren't for him, I would not be doing this work right now. Thank goodness he was around. And, to say that my father loved me and I loved him, but it's very different. It was a partnership in creating this right now. And instead of questioning it as, oh no, poor me, I wouldn't change a single thing that happened to me because of the lessons that I've gotten and the people I've been able to help and direct and guide and help heal and bring more nonviolence. But I can't renounce something without having it. So once you have it, you are given a gift. So you are given a gift of violence. What will you do with this gift? Will you become violent in the world and keep sharing that, or turn it into passion and turn it into love? My father taught me what strength was, what passion was, what love was, because he couldn't express it because he had this energy of violence within him. But it doesn't mean he also wasn't a magical person. He was most magical to me, and everyone is. And when I teach, I tell people I teach the Ashtanga 8 limbs, and I teach meditation. And I do this not because, of course, everyone wants peace, everyone wants to be in a state of bliss, but I teach it because I want people to experience magic. I want people to experience what this world has to give and offer, and understand that it happens when we participate in a particular way and change our mindset. And then everything comes. There's not a negative thing that is ever taking place. Sometimes rough, so you have to stay low and quiet until the storm passes, and then say, okay, thank you. And now what do I need to do?
Because of my upbringing, my father, I wrote, and he's called the gardener of my roots. El jardinero de mis raíces. My father was Puerto Rican, my mother was Italian. And my father was an alcoholic, and later on, he was a drug user, But since we were younger, my father was the love of my life, although he was abusive. But to us, he wasn't. But he planted seeds of wisdom throughout us growing up. And I talk a lot about him, and that's one of the things. My mother taught us how to be strong because all we saw was her weaknesses. My mother taught us how to love ourselves because she gave her love to men and not her children or herself. So was my mother a bad person? In that child's mentality, of course she was. In my knowing, she was the best teacher I could have ever received.
Absolutely.
But I learned that in hindsight.
Yes.
But I learned it. And just like the seeds of wisdom that Papi planted so long ago, they're still growing. They're still blossoming. Sometimes I forget, and then I got to go to the garden and be like, Maron, this is what it is. Violent, I can't say I was violent, but I was the don't fuck with me type of person.
Yeah, which is a form of violence.
I gave everybody I meet, regardless of what I heard about them, I give them an A until they fuck it up. Because their behavior is not my responsibility.
Right.
My reaction to it. And let me tell you where I learned this, and then I want the badass Buddha to speak. I learned this 5 years ago, like totally the rage. I finally released that when I did the Camino de Santiago, and I walked from France to Santiago de Compostela. It took me 32 days to walk it. I went alone. I went 3 weeks after burying my husband. And I went and I left what I didn't even know, the weight that I was carrying from the age of 6. And I left it. And I came back such a different person that my kids are like, where's the Margie that we grew up with? Because you wouldn't put up with this. And I'm like, you know what? She's in the back seat.
Right.
I'm not totally getting rid of her because society sometimes needs an up in your face type of chick. But she's in the back seat. But I don't want to be that anymore. I have to protect my energy. And I learned that there. And then my mom passed away last year, but with all of the travel restrictions, I couldn't go. But I just returned from the Camino de Santiago again. And I carried her ashes with me. I went with the intentions to let her go. And I was like, I don't think this trip was to let her go. I think it was to finally travel with my mother. So when I wrote this chapter for this book, I was delaying because it wasn't flowing. And then I just sat in front of the thing and I just typed. And I don't write like that. I'm the writer that I have to write everything down on a pad and then type it. But this time it was just typed.
That's the way it comes, yeah.
And the spirit flowed. And I believe Deja Vu is the movie we were shown before we were born of our life that we chose to be born into. And when we get those deja vus, it's just a confirmation that we are exactly what we are supposed to be.
Absolutely. Beautiful.
You agree, Berta?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm taking it all in. Everything happens for a reason. I know people say that so fleeting sometimes. It's just they use it. Gladys grew. Oh, she just stepped out for a second. She'll be right back. Everything happens for a reason, and we all have moments in our lives where things are just popping up, or information is flowing in a certain way, and we choose to ignore it or fight it, resist it, or just sit with it. And the interesting thing is, Berta, everything happens for a reason, because we weren't 100% sure that you were coming today, because I didn't even know if you were getting the emails, and I had sent it so late anyway. I don't usually do that. Usually I'm a week ahead of myself. So we had prepared for a conversation just in case you didn't show up. And the interesting thing is the conversation that we were going to have had to do with what's been coming up for us. And you came in, and just by what you're saying has helped me work on what's been coming up for myself, because just some of the things that you've been saying, just gently reminding me of how I need to approach things, where I need to go with it, let the voices be heard. Not that I'm not letting them be heard. It's more like I'm like, yeah, I know you're there. But wait. And it's like, no, but wait, just listen. And then it will come to me. And so I thank you for that. Like, I really thank you for your presence. And I'm a little bummed to think that you don't do any in-person classes anymore. You do.
Oh, I do. I do. Yes, I'll do in person, a lot more through lecturing and teaching. So yes, I do also. But then I also I place them on the site so that could be shared with as many people. But yes,
I would love to really, really connect with you in person.
I'd love to.
And I just, and it's interesting. I just want to share this really quickly. This has nothing to do with your article or anything like that. But I was blessed with being in a the complementary alternative medicine field. I've been around that, and the type of work that you do, I've been around that for a really long time. Back in, I think 89, something like that, right? When it wasn't really mainstream. And I'm grateful that I had an older brother who I don't have a relationship with anymore, but he was very influential on me, and in a very positive way. And even the negative it ended up turning out to be very positive. But I was around all of this, so I saw a lot of meditation early on. I saw a lot of everything, energy, rebirthing, energetic work, Reiki, whatever. So I didn't do much with it for years. I did some of it, but not much. And then I decided I wanted to try some yoga and do some yoga classes. And I was very off put by the class that I decided to go to, because I felt like everybody had this sort of little attitude with them. And I was taken back by this. It was a judgment on my part, but that was my observation. I felt that yoga gets you in touch, but I feel that sometimes the way yoga is in this country. It's very competitive. It's the in thing to do. It has this element to it, right? And then I decided I dropped it. I stopped for a while. I'm like, yeah, okay, that wasn't exactly what I wanted. And then I picked it up again a few years ago. And I decided not to worry about what other people were doing or what their reasons were. I decided to just worry about what my reasons were. And the interesting thing was I did find somebody that was just absolutely beautiful, and she attracted those people in. And it was such a different place for me. And I absolutely love that practice. And I love the practice of you are in your own space and you're doing your own thing for you to make yourself a better individual, to make yourself a better human for others. And it is one element of the practice. Yoga is one element of the mindfulness practice. Meditation is one, just sitting and being aware. And that's why, like, you're just kind of reminding me that I want to shift back into that. I haven't practiced it in a little bit because that individual is not local anymore. And I've done it a few times online, but it's not the same. So I really, really would love to come and work with you. So I'm excited about this.
Awesome. I head back home to Florida on Saturday. But when I come back, then I would love.
Oh, yes, that would be lovely. Well. I don't know how much time is left.
Just about a minute. We usually end about 9:05, but feel free.
So just a quick thing to say, as far as the yoga that you were explaining and, the idea of trendiness, there was a time that I thought, oh no, I don't want to do this trendy kind of yoga, but then I realized that yoga in itself was almost lost at one point, even in India. The idea of asana yoga, like yoga is everything. Life is yoga. Asana yoga, the physical response of it was almost lost. And trendiness brought it back. An American westernized trendiness of so obsessively needing to do and learn everything. Like even the study of the Bhagavad Gita was almost gone. Even in India, they stopped studying a lot of the philosophy, and because of American trendiness, they just saturated it, and and then people wanted to find a little bit more, and we found our way a little bit further and further. So I started thinking, well, that's not so bad. It's sharing, and it brings you back. And then one more thing, asanas, the 8 limbs. There's yamas, niyamas. They are more mental, emotional practices, and then the third one is asana. That is the physical practice. Then the fourth is there's asana, there's pranayama, pratyahara. So pranayama, the science of breath, pratyahara, the turning within of senses. And then we go dhyana, dharana, dhyana, and then samadhi. So we go up into that. So regardless of where everyone thinks, where they are and why they ended up in a yoga class, it's the third aspect. And when you're there and you start having these negative thoughts to everyone, we go back to number 1, non-violence, ahimsa. So we begin there. And so I teach always first there. You go onto that mat and you have judgment to others and yourself.
Yes.
That's the first thing. Place that aside, close your eyes, and the practice then becomes beautiful, and finding stillness within your movements. So, I mean, your experience is exactly, in a sense, what I'm saying, that you found your way and came back again, but looked at it differently, because that is what yoga really is.
I almost want to cry just listening to you say that. Like, I'm getting like very emotional about that. That's interesting. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I'm feeling a little verklempt right now. So
for me, it's like I've met you somewhere. Not in this timeline though.
Yes,
met you.
And I would love to continue to get to know both of you. You're amazing.
Yes. Are you is your studio open?
So the studio, I mean, I travel around more or less. So, and I have a studio out of my home where people are welcome to join me. The majority is online as well, but I'm expanding.
Good.
I just want to make sure that I am putting this up correct. Berta Prevosti.com. That's the best way to reach you.
Berta Prevosti. Yes, that's one way, or through rajayogini.com.
Okay.
So on Raja Yogini, I mean, we made the site, me and Colleen Poggy Miller, we made the site so that we have it very, very affordable. And we are putting as much as we possibly can. Every time I do meditations, we have it on there for our site members to be able to access them. We have a lot of, free content. We have then yoga and then many lectures. And so we have so much. I'm trying to put as much as I can so people can access it whenever they need to and learn the steps in the proper way, because you said everyone needs a little guidance. Like as far as meditation, you sit down, you don't know what's happening. You need to have guidance in a team. So we are placing everything out there. So rajayogini.com is probably the best way to get in touch with me, or the Berta Prevosti, either way.
And so what we did was we pasted the actual links in the comments, so you can be able to just click directly from your Facebook page, and it will take you right to her. And look at Liliana says she needed this. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
And that's the beauty of it, is everything does happen for a reason. And we really are very honored that you were here today. Yeah, Mock Tub. We're very honored that you're here today. And I was so excited when Gladiator Guru brought up this article, and then to top it off, to research you, like we said, our little energetic stalking, and then to find out that you were like, because I'm in Shelton, so find out that you're right next to me, I was like, that's so interesting that you're right there all the time. And it took this long to find you, but
I think it was probably perfect timing, because when I heard this, I'm like, these women found me from that article, that I think I did in 2019, and so I thought that is it's never a coincidence. And I was like, ooh, I can't wait to begin this as well. Thank you.
It was right on time. It's like this needed to be spoken. I think we all needed this today. We all needed to share this. I need to ask you before we leave, do you drink coffee?
Oh, no.
Okay.
That's okay. We're good. That's all right.
That's fine. I drink coffee. I'm an actual coffee roaster.
Oh.
And my company is called Naturally Orgasmic Cafe.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. But that's beautiful. Any last positive words you would like to leave the audience with today?
Oh, if people can remember how powerful they are, no one is a mistake. God created us in their image, and we are here all for a purpose, regardless if you realize it or not. We're all on the same path. So to do what's in front of you, to do it with kindness. When you're most lost, quiet yourself and just do whatever's in front of you. Even if it's walk outside, there's a piece of garbage, pick it up, throw it away, because that's in front of you. And then that chain continues and continues and continues. And then you have a magical day after that, which will make the next one even more so.
Thank you.
Fabulous way to end. Thank you so much, Berta.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure meeting you and having you on here. So everybody, thank you so much for coming on today. It is the end of our show for Thursday. We will be back again on Tuesday. And so everybody have an absolutely beautiful weekend, and really just make the most of it. Make the most of today, tomorrow, and every single day. And so from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from the Gladiator Guru, mi gente, remember, breathe in all the beauty and breathe out all the bullshit. Namaste.
Namaste,
Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.